Welcome to the Impossible Shift. I'm your host, Jennifer Benson. Every person has a story, a moment that changed them, a challenge that tested them, a choice that shaped who they would become. On this podcast, we explore those stories through conversations about healing, identity, resilience, purpose, and personal transformation. We'll uncover the lessons that emerge when people face life's most difficult moments and choose to keep moving forward. Because transformation rarely happens all at once. It happens one choice at a time. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin. Welcome to the Impossible Shift. I'm your host, Jennifer Benson, and I have the distinct privilege to be able to introduce our guest today, Scott, who is a retired U.S. Army colonel and former Congressional and National Security Fellow, who reveals how human potential, power, and money shape our lives. His global experience from Europe and the Middle East to Capitol Hill and Harvard informs his work decoding the turbulence of our age. He challenges audiences to see the current chaos not as collapse, but as evolution, and to recognize that changing the world begins with changing ourselves. We'd like to welcome Scott. Scott, welcome aboard.
Well, Jennifer, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Tell us about yourself, Scott.
Okay, so you gave a sort of the big picture overview. One of the things when I spent 31 years with the United States Army, and I was learning a lot about the use of power and how folks can get along and go along and all of those other elements. And I saw those all come together. And it's interesting, especially regarding the Impossible Shift podcast, where you often talk to people about sort of a cliff moment, something that's a moment of pivot and change. My whole life has been this accumulation of experience and insight, I believe, leading me to this moment, which I think it is for most people. And you say, well, what's this moment that you're talking about? And much of it is the turbulence of our times, which is the chaos that we're seeing around us. So I frame it as the convergence of 5 storms. The first storm is environmental upheaval. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, but if you've noticed, we've had some major earthquakes firing off. The ones in Venezuela, many on the Pacific Rim of fire. We've had a number of volcanoes go off. We've had heat waves, flooding, storms, fires, all kinds of what I call signals from the earth telling us to pay attention, something significant is happening. So the first storm is environmental upheaval. The second storm is economic stratification. We are more divided economically, the haves and the have-nots, than we have been in 100 years, perhaps in American history. The haves are very few but have very much, and the have-nots are very many and have relatively little. This divide is unprecedented in modern American history, but that is our second storm. The third storm is what I call political polarization. We see it all around us, but it is division by design. That is, the people who are winning in the new economy are purposely keeping the masses divided, fighting amongst each other over cultural issues so that they never recognize what's really going on. Because if they were to recognize what's really going on, they could claim their power, unite, and change circumstance. So that's the third storm, political polarization. The fourth storm is this technological acceleration. Sort of the subject of the day is artificial intelligence. But if you take artificial intelligence and compound it with robotics and biotechnology and genetic engineering, we have this acceleration of technology, which is more than overwhelming most people. And the interesting thing is, many people are deciding, I don't want to engage with human beings anymore. I'd rather just engage with artificial intelligence. All of that together is this fourth storm. So that's the convergence of 4 storms. Our fifth storm is what you often deal with, which are those personal adversities, those personal challenges we all face. The idea of loss, failure, uncertainty. As just in the condition of being human, we are going to face these circumstances, these challenges. But what I see today is the convergence of those 5 storms: environmental upheaval, economic stratification, political polarization, technological acceleration, and the normal personal adversity we all feel. But it is all for a purpose. It's all for a purpose. So the question that I ask, and this is what has led me, I've not had a dark night of the soul moment, but I have had these revelations throughout my life as I've moved from experience to experience on how is it that we would potentially expand, and what is this moment driving us toward? I say this moment, this convergence of these 5 storms, is driving us all individually to a decision point. A decision point. We all have to make a choice. And the choice is between the way things are, or the way things were, the way they have been for 12,000 years, which is primarily a competitive paradigm. That is a survival of the fittest, take as much as you can, as fast as you can, dominate the other guy, do it any way that you can. It has been survival of the fittest for 12,000 years. Now, we have had periods of prosperity where we connect, collaborate, and create, and those are our leaps forward as society, but the overarching paradigm has always been a taking paradigm. It is competition, conflict, death, destruction, pain, and suffering over and over and over again. We've been doing it for 12,000 years. We are at a point in the Earth's history and in human history where we can make a different choice. And this is what this choice is forcing us. Are we going to choose the old way, the standard way, the way we've been doing this for 12,000 years, or are we going to change to a new paradigm? And that new paradigm is to connect, collaborate, and create together. And it's a realization that we're all in this together, and we can move forward together if we so choose. So all of that is happening to make us all make a decision. But now, if you look at your individual life and you say, well, wait a minute, how do you look at that economic stratification I talked about, or the political polarization that I talked about, and you say, how do I influence that? I don't have control over all those mechanisms. That's millions and billions of people collectively producing the results that we have produced. And what I say, it all starts from a simple foundational understanding, and that is what we put out, we get back. What we put out, we get back. The life we experience is a reflection of who we are as individuals. All change starts within. I am not going to change the world by making you change, Jennifer, or making someone else change, or trying to force my will on someone else. It all begins with me. So I have to make a choice. And it starts with this idea of awareness. So the first thing is, are you getting what you want? Are you heading in the direction that you want? Are you making progress in life? Is all going well? If your answer is yes, well, then keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. All's good. If the answer is no, well, then start with awareness. Look around. What has been happening? What you're seeing is a reflection of who you are. So I need to change who I am if I'm not producing the experiences I want to experience. It starts with awareness. The awareness is we as human beings generally default to habit. That is, we take thinking out of the equation. We much rather establish a routine that responds to a stimuli to get us what we want. So we approach circumstances through habit. And those are all built on beliefs. Beliefs drive the train. Unfortunately, most of our beliefs are built on assumptions, and many of those assumptions are wrong. So the awareness point is, first I've got to realize there is a space between stimulus and response. That space allows for choice. Choice. I can make a choice. There is really an opportunity for me to make a choice. So the first thing is I have to be aware that I have the opportunity to make a choice. Then I've got to decide, okay, who's responsible for this life of mine? What I challenge people is you've got to take radical responsibility for your life. What that means is no judgment, no blame, no condemning, criticizing others. It is I'm responsible for my life. I'm going to claim my power, claim my agency. I'm complicit in all of this reality that I'm experiencing. It is what I'm creating. It's because who I am. If I want to change that, all the things that are happening out there, I've got to change me. So it starts awareness. First, I got to realize I'm not getting what I want. Why? I'm making bad choices in that space between stimulus and response. I've got to make better choices. Who's it on? It's on me. I've got to make better choices. So it goes back to, what's my intention? What is this choice that I'm making? What am I believing? Believing, a compilation of our beliefs, is what we call a worldview. We have this worldview about what is happening. How is the world a dangerous place or a safe place? What is my role in this world? How do I affect it? And so I come to this worldview through a compilation of my beliefs. My beliefs all come from who I associate with, what I've been conditioned to, everything that I've assumed is the way the world works. Most often, that's all wrong. But let me give you an analogy to help kind of put this into perspective. Let's just define your reality inside a box. So you say, whatever I'm getting, I'm inside this box. I want to change that reality. Well, I need to move to a bigger box. So I've got to get rid of the small box and move to a bigger box. How do I do that? It's through these steps. First, awareness. I got to realize I'm inside a box of my own construction. I want to make a bigger box. What do I have to do? I've got to change me. How do I change me? First, I've got to realize that I have this opportunity to make a new choice, which means, what do I really want? My intention. Why am I continuing to make these same choices? Why have I established these habits? Because I'm relying on these beliefs, these assumptions. I've got to change what I believe. So once I change what I believe, and this is easier said than done, let me tell you that. And once I change what I believe, and much of it is letting go of those falsehoods, letting go of all that I've been pretending to be, and follow authentically my path where my joy leads me. Once I start doing that, then I find myself in a bigger box. It's a new reality, a new opportunity, a new unfolding. Does that all make sense?
Absolutely. I'm loving it. Yes.
Terrific. Terrific. So what I say is, we've got 5 storms converging. One of the challenges, and I get this question often, well, how come somebody isn't out there, the white knight on the horse, telling us this is the direction we have to go and is going to solve all our problems? It's because you and I as individuals, have to make this personal choice. The personal choice is between the old way, that paradigm that we've been experiencing for 12,000 years, which is compete, it's conflict, competition, death and destruction, pain and suffering. Now, I don't want to put a value judgment on it, but it's been a tough road to hoe, so to speak. In other words, it has been some tough times. We've learned a lot, but it's time to let that go. It's time to change fundamentally our approach to life, come together, approach a new paradigm, which is connect, collaborate, and create together. And how do we do that? Fundamentally, everything that process that I just outlined to you, that awareness first, and then this idea of changing myself and looking at my beliefs, my intention, all of that is fundamentally to overcome the biggest of all obstacles in our lives, which is fear. Fear. I'll give you an analogy on how most of us approach fear. Let's look at life as a river. So it's a big river. We've decided to come into life and we're experiencing this river. So we're with the flow. Well, I'm afraid. So there's typically 3 strategies we approach. One is I cling to a rock. So something that I believe is giving me security, I'm going to cling to that thing with all my might for as long as I can, and I'm not going to move down the river. Life's telling you, hey, the adventure is down the river. You got to let go. You got to go with the flow, but I'm going to cling to this rock. I'm resisting. It's because I'm afraid. Another strategy is I'm going to build a dam. I'm going to dam the river so that I have some modicum of control. I can establish control, keep control of the circumstances. I can control what happens. That's not the way it works. You're on an adventure. An adventure means you're going to have to face some uncertainty. That's part of the adventure. You've got to let go. Stop building the dam. Stop resisting. Stop resisting. Go. The third strategy, which is a very common strategy, is all I'm going to do is dip my toe in the river. I'm just going to dip in. I'm not going to actually get in the river. I'm going to stay outside and I'm going to watch the river flow. And I'm going to complain. I'm going to judge. I'm going to, curse the wind, curse the seas, curse the river. But I'm never going to jump in. So our 3 strategies, we either cling to something we know and hold on with all our might so that we're not going to face a new circumstance, an opportunity to grow. Remember, we mask ourselves with all of these disguises, The idea of this adventure is to let the disguises go. Let go of the rock. Let go of the rock. Let the river take you. All will be well. I guarantee you all will be well. We have to overcome that fear. That fear creates the resistance that keeps us from really expanding to what we truly are. And that's the key with this. That's why we're being forced to this decision point. That's why all these storms are converging right now. If you have the awareness to see the storms, they are signaling you, pay attention, something big is happening. And it's for you to have awareness to realize you're in charge of your life. What you put out is what you get back. If you want to change what you're getting, you have to change yourself. And it all starts with that awareness, that intention, and those changing those beliefs, which are really letting go of mostly false assumptions.
And Scott, you know what's funny is when you were talking about the different types, I was like, I'm totally that control one that was like, let me put a dam right here because I'm not going down that stream.
But see, you're aware. If you're aware of it, then you can make the changes that you need to make to create a new reality. That's the key.
Absolutely. Yes. I love it. Yes. Sorry. Please continue. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, so essentially that's the framework, and that's the message in a nutshell. And it's this idea that, first of all, we need the awareness. Then we need to take radical responsibility. I'm in charge. What I put out is what I get back. It's up to me. I have agency. I have power. It's my journey. I'm the one going down the river. I have to realize there's a space to make a new choice. What do I really want? That I call that the golden question. What do I really want to experience? Now, most people, they just give a superficial answer to that question. You really need to dig deep into that question. What do I really want to experience and why? If you dig deep into that question, you're going to come to something more akin to your purpose, why you're here. And once you align with your purpose, things start to flow. It's not necessarily what you intellectually want or what other people think success looks like. It's aligning with your purpose, the reason for being, the reason you are here. Align with that purpose, and life begins to flow. You're not going to cling to the rock. You're not going to build those dams. You're going to be in the water, going with the flow, and all will be well. Which brings us full circle back to this worldview. Do you think the world's a dangerous place, or do you think it's an adventure? If you believe it's an adventure, then you've got to let yourself go. I'll give you this little mantra, and this is where I'll close my thoughts here, is think of it this way. Open yourself to experience. So if we go back to our river metaphor, let yourself flow with the river. Open yourself to wherever the river is going to take you. Allow what is happening. Don't resist it. Allow it. Now, that doesn't mean that you are, if it's a challenging time, that doesn't mean you just give in yourself to it. It might be a lesson to learn, but allow it to happen. Don't fight it. Accept whatever reality has approached your awareness. It's here. It's okay. I'm going to accept it. And then in the end, rejoice. And what I mean by that is all will be well. You're going through this adventure. You're learning. You're growing. If you're letting go of all your inhibitions, by that I mean your fear, your resistance, those strategies we talked about for trying to block the river's flow, then you are going to grow as an individual, and you're going to make it through these storms. We are all going to go through these storms together. We all have to make a choice. Some are going to decide the old way is what I want to continue to play in, and that's fine. That's fine. Let those people make that decision. Everybody's on their own journey. But what I'm offering and what I want you to consider is you can make a different choice. You can make a better choice. Again, take it through those steps of awareness, intention, beliefs. Ultimately, make a better choice. It all starts within. And you can weather the storm and start a new life, connect, collaborate, create together. And we will be creating a whole new earth.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Scott. Now, if folks are interested in getting to, learn more about what your teachings and, find out more about you, how can they do that? I know I'm going to have the information in the description on the podcast, but if you want to share with them a little bit more where they can connect with you here in the video.
Absolutely. The easiest place to connect, I use the LinkedIn platform because a lot of what I do, it's in the professional realm. So if you're not on LinkedIn, but if you are on LinkedIn, find me in there, Scott F as in Francis, Parady, Paradis. Find me on LinkedIn, connect with me. I'll help in any way that I can. My books, I've got 11 books out. You can find those on Amazon. Then I have courses on udemy.com. I have a couple of YouTube channels, one of them specifically on this topic. So if you were to look up what's really going on, Apocalypse or Evolution, Scott F. Parady, you'll be able to find me on YouTube. It takes you through those storms and all of those other points that I'm talking about. So you can look that up as well. But by all means, reach out to me. If I can help you in any way, I will.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in today. This has been The Impossible Shift. We will see you next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Impossible Shift. If today's conversation resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who may need to hear it. You can learn more about The Impossible Shift, explore resources, books, coaching, and upcoming projects at theimpossibleshift.com. Until next time, remember, choice is your power. I'll see you at the next episode.